The Dark Side of High School Basketball, Volume 1. Let's see what this dude's talking about.
Only our cameras were there as Dior Johnson walked into court today facing felony assault and strangulation charges.
San Ysidro High School basketball star Mikey Williams is facing multiple charges tonight related to a shooting in Jamul, getting punched by his own players.
Kicked off the team after he was charged with...
Police say 2 student athletes were just arrested in connection with a move that took place last month.
Yo, what's up with y'all niggas? What's up with y'all niggas? What's up with the high school basketball community, especially like if you're a famous high school basketball player and becoming an idiot? Like, what's your actual problem? Mikey Williams is a prime example, you know? Born and raised in the suburbs or middle income household, tattoos, throwing up the signs, gang violence. Why, nigga? You're a high school basketball star. Why? Yo, like... The civilians are acting like gangsters while the gangsters are acting like civilians. Bro, LeBron James came from the slums, my brother. He came from nothing. He came from caca and poo-poo and is the greatest athlete of all time. Michael Jordan. Like, what's going on with y'all, bro? Shaquille O'Neal. What's up with y'all? These niggas are grown and raised in a good household, in a good community, and for some reason they got to up 5 on a nigga. Like, what's wrong with these niggas, bro? Shit is stupid.
Yeah, okay, so if you click this video, I'm assuming you enjoy basketball in some capacity. And if that's the case, you and I got something in common. What's good? My name is OA, also known as OA Shot It. I'll be shooting Anyway, so I've been filming high school sports for about 4 years now, and I can truly say from the bottom of my heart, it's one of God's greatest gifts to mankind. I've seen NBA stars in their early stages. I've seen get their ass whooped on court by their own teammates. I've seen a lot of shit. I mean, I love it. It's raw. It's the purest form of basketball next to going outside and just dribbling on your own. And it's raw for a reason. I mean, aside from the fact that the refs don't get paid enough to give a about the games they're refereeing, these are all just kids, bro. These are teenage boys, and it's easy to forget because of just how good these kids are at such young ages. But they will remind you real fast. I mean, these kids are not playing for a paycheck, or not all of them anyways, but these kids are playing for pride. They're playing for offers, free college. They're playing for goddamn school spirit. I mean, some of these kids are just playing to stay out of trouble. Shit is low-key crazy to think about. But let me stop yapping. Sometimes these emotions go unchecked. At the end of the day, basketball is just a small portion of these kids' lives.
Nigga, Mr. Wide Open layup, nigga. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, boy. I ain't gonna lie to you, nigga. You my teammate. You miss a layup like that, we gonna have to scrap. No freaking way you just missed a layup and you thought I was gonna let that shit slide, nigga. No freaking way. Don't let this be a playoff game. Don't let this be a playoff game, game 7. You will go missing. I swear to God.
With a lot of other moving parts. In short, sometimes these kids lose their damn mind, and it can get scary.
These
are some of the darkest and wildest stories in high school basketball. Let's lock in. This video is an iceberg format, which means the stories will be progressively wilder as they go on, I guess. I don't fucking know, bro. Just watch the video.
My favorite delinquent, everybody. My favorite delinquent, light-skinned wannabe gangster hoodlum. My favorite delinquent, of course. I cannot wait. This is I hate this nigga so much, chat. I hate this nigga so much because of how good he is and the stupid decisions he making as a child. I don't care how. It depends on the age, clearly, right? But his grown age with so many followers has the ego of death. There's no reason, bro. Just be a good kid. Make it to the NBA. Make your parents happy. Stop up 5. Stop trying to shoot dudes. Stop trying to be this tough dude, this hoodlum. It's disgusting. Especially when you're not like that. You're not like that.
Surely if you clicked on this video, you have some idea of who Mikey Williams is, but if you don't, or you've been living under a rock for the last 3 years, I'll explain. Mikey Williams was essentially the high school basketball player of the last decade, as he was pretty much one of the most popular we've seen in recent times. Mikey was shoved into the spotlight early on, dating back to middle school, where he gained notoriety playing with Bronny James on a stacked Blue Chips team. He was one of the most exciting players, not only in that crazy 2023 class, but in the entirety of high school basketball, and it came quickly. His freshman year was one of the most memorable we've ever seen. Buddy was going viral like every damn week. You could not scroll social media without seeing some sort of crazy dunk or him posting an insane box score. Like, this kid scored 77 points as a 15-year-old. 77.
Come on, nigga, cherry picking. Why you gargling this dude, bro? Like, stop. LaMelo Ball scored 92. Did we forget about LaMelo? Did we forget about that? Like, did we forget about this nigga LaMelo scoring 92 in the game? Did we, like, what's that? Crickets? Quarters, nigga, pennies? Like, what are you doing?
Shit, some of y'all ain't even scored that this whole season, but that's enough glazing. My bad. You could argue Mikey's stardom sort of tapered off in the following years as he transferred to 3 different schools in those 3 years. But nonetheless, Mikey was massively successful, touching millions of dollars before the age of 18 off brand deals, one being Puma, with whom he signed with to become the first ever high school basketball player to sign a shoe deal, amongst many others. But as we all know, more money, more problems. On March 28, 2023, a 911 call was made by someone claiming to have been shot at by Mikey Williams at his mansion in San Diego the night.
Like, bro. Yo, you freaking monkey. Like, what type of ape-like creature does that? $1 million house mansion. Do you not hear what this nigga just said? Yo, 911 received a phone call from a mansion that apparently Mikey Williams lived in, and he was shooting at a person. Yo, my nigga, I have a mansion, right? I have a mansion. What do I look like shooting people in a mansion that I live in? What? A mansion? Like, you're good for life. You're good for life. Why are you being a hoodlum? Can't stand these niggas, bro.
Night before. The story to this day is still super vague, but it goes something like this. A group of 5 individuals pull up to Mikey's mansion in an Uber, including 2 girls and 3 guys. One of the girls amongst the group was in contact with another resident of the home, who we now know was allegedly. Then an argument breaks out between and the guests after the guests request a quote-unquote walkthrough of the house, whatever the fuck that means. To this day, we do not know what escalated the argument or why exactly those 5 people really pulled up in the first place, but I'm sure some of you have some decent guesses. At some point, Mikey comes outside with a handgun and fires an unspecified number of shots at the vehicle, with one hitting the rear of said vehicle. Nobody got hit, but at that point, the damage had already been done. Officers responded.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. If you pull up a 5, you better hit it, bro. What are you doing with a 5 and not hitting? What are you doing with a 5 and you're not hitting your shots? You just ain't, what, you just trying to let people see this, that corny little kids, bro, that corny little kid stuff I'm talking about, bro. Nigga just pulled out the Glock and he just started shooting just to let them know, leave him with a warning. If he wanted to do it to him, he would have been done it to them. Would have been do it to their ass, bro. But he's not doing it to them. Why? Because he's not like that.
To the initial 911 call almost 3 weeks later on April 13th, where they executed a search warrant at Mikey's house.
I'm not pausing no more. Let me have a mansion, right? And my son grew up there in a mansion. And the first thing he does, bro, the moment he turns 15, 16, is start hitting niggas with Glocks, chopping him up, throwing him in a lake, restarting again. What's another 18 more years? Like Omni-Man said, bro, bugging.
He was arrested the next day, facing 6 whole felony charges, including 5 charges of assault with a deadly weapon and 1 count of firing into an occupied vehicle. Had he been found guilty of these charges, he would have done 30 years in prison. Insane shit.
150 years, bro. I'm a hater, bro. I don't like violence, especially from people who have it like they're there. You feel me? Like my brother in Christ, you have a mansion. What are you mad at? You have clout, you have mansion, you have status, you have looks, you have biddies. You just a hating ass nigga, bro. a hating ass nigga. Is that all you do? Just hate? You have everything. You have the 5 things every man has, bro. Looks, status, money, power, women. And at a young age. And he'll look at a nigga and be like, man, get your... Like, why? It's that boredom.
Yeah, bro.
It's that boredom.
Luckily, his lawyers were on demon timing because he somehow beat this case. Mikey took a plea deal to a much lesser felony charge of making a criminal threat, and as a result, he was ordered to complete a gun safety course, attend anger management classes, and do 80 hours of community service, which, with all things considered, is an insane slap on the wrist. Provided that he doesn't get in trouble with the law again, the charge can even get downgraded to a misdemeanor. Mikey's currently at the University of Central Florida, where he's slated to be back on the court next fall. Good luck, Mikey.
Good luck, Mikey. Why do you do that? Arterio Morris? Now, if he was born in Chicago, he definitely got it, bro. I'm just telling you right now, I never heard of a nigga named Arterio Morris. Has to be from Detroit or Chicago, grew up in the hood, start up 5 on dudes. That's just the lifestyle. Not mansion, living, light-skinned, curly-headed. You know what?
Looking back at the 2022 recruiting class is always interesting because at the time, it seemed so incredibly stacked that some considered it borderline generational. And with all things considered, and I'm admittedly being a prisoner of the moment right now, it kind of was. I mean, let's look back. When you look at the top 30 ranked players in that 247 composite, you see that 17 were drafted one and done. That's more than half that are already in the league currently playing in their rookie season. 4 are projected to be taken in this year's draft, including Kyle Filipowski, Tyrese Proctor, Khalil Ware, and Adem Bona, which leaves 9 players who are each currently thugging it out, doing their thing in college, right? Fuck no. There is one player that's not enrolled in any school right now doing Lord knows what. And sadly, he just so happens to be one of the most talented players I've ever seen with The Rock. Let's talk about Arterio Morris. Now, Arterio was about as unique of a player as it gets. Coming out of Kimball High School in Dallas, Texas, everyone in the city knew that he was special very early on. He showcased a distinctive style of play, incorporating a silky smooth handle to go with elite athleticism and change of pace, with a certain level of dog you just wasn't gonna match. Although the city always recognized Terrio as one of the best players in the country, it took him some time to get recognition on a national scale, as he didn't earn a 3-star ranking until the tail end of his sophomore year in early 2020. He had ambitions much higher than 3 stars though, which resulted in him transferring to Prolific Prep for a brief stint, and then he was right back to Kimball in time for his junior year. A couple of spectacular AAU campaigns, a few thousand Instagram and TikTok followers, and state championship losses later, and Terrio was a household name to anybody who knew anything about high school sports. At this point, he was a consensus 5-star recruit, ranked as the #2 point guard in the nation, and would commit to play for Chris Beard's Texas Longhorns in July 2021 before earning a McDonald's All-American nod, an invite to the Iverson Classic, and a bunch of other honors. But following the theme of the video, these niggas can't stay out their own way. So let me just tell you how shit hit the fan. On the night of July 12, 2022, a long Instagram post was posted by Terrio's then girlfriend at the time, accusing Terrio of some very illegal things. I'll throw some screenshots up, but to paraphrase it, the expose essentially detailed how Terrio would abuse her. The caption would illustrate
I can't, yo, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. How long has he been with Shorty from? Yo, I don't understand. What's up with women, right? And like, they will, like, it will be a nigga who's famous, and then like they will wait a specific amount of time and be like, oh, I got beat, I got sexually abused. Not saying it's not real, but it's like, why do y'all wait for a specific time? Like, y'all are very accurate when it comes to like timing, which is very scary, bro, because I guarantee you a year ago he probably was doing it and she wasn't, you know, she was just letting him cook. Now that sounds crazy. Let me shut up. My bad, yo. I hope you know what, let's just watch the video.
a grim picture of her and Terrell's relationship, stating things like how he would, quote, threaten to beat on me and punch on me if I didn't stay with him, which escalated to him, quote, grabbing her, snatching her up by her clothes, and violating her because she broke up with him. She would describe instances of him driving all the way from Austin to Dallas, which is a 3-hour trip, to pop up at her place of work and argue. A separate instance told of a time where Terrio came to her job, threatened to break her car windows, managed to take her keys and throw them in a ditch so she couldn't leave. The final straw came when Terrio, quote, grabbed her by the left wrist and pulled her up off the bed, and then grabbed at her sports bra near her chest and pulled, which caused a, quote, 3-inch long abrasion on her neck. Y'all get the point. Shortly after this incident, 911 was called to the house. According to the affidavit, during initial questioning, Terrio told police that there was no physical contact made between him and the victim, essentially telling police he didn't touch her. However, after police saw the bruises on the victim's neck, Terrio, quote unquote, altered his initial statement, which is obviously a big ass no-no. He was then placed under arrest and charged with assault causing bodily injury to a family member, a Class A misdemeanor. According to the Post, she would then file a restraining order on Terrio, which was easily granted. The protective order stated that he was not allowed to contact her nor be within 500 feet of her, and that any violation would be an automatic felony. But that didn't really stop anything. Now, according to the caption, it's not really clear in which order these events took place, but in the post, she would include videos of Terrio being put in cuffs and arrested by police, audio recordings of him making threats toward her, screenshots of him brandishing a gun, and text messages between the two, amongst other things.
Idiots, bro. Yo, I don't understand. Again, you're famous. You have a career. Why do you fall for that? Like, why? Yo, my nigga, let me be a high school phenom, bro. Every female is signing an NDA on P. Diddy. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Every female signing an NDA. Every female. I don't care, bro. You not signing an NDA, you is not my wife. I don't care. Obviously, this nigga cooked. He's stupid. Like, you should never put your hands on a woman. But then it's like, I'm talking about the situations where the woman would, like, you know how many cases, future stars, future NFL players, basketball players, all that, they get cooked because shorty want to lie and say that he graped. And you're, nah, bro.
It hit social media like a typhoon, quickly spreading and becoming the topic of discussion amongst Dallas residents and high school basketball fans alike. The most inquiring minds belong to Texas Longhorn faithfuls, though, not only for the obvious concerns with the allegations surrounding their brand new 5-star recruit, but one very interesting detail. As I said before, the allegations came out on July 12th. However, Terrio was booked into jail June 2nd. For you smart people out there, that is an entire 1 month and 10-day period where absolutely nothing took place. No statements, no announcements, no suspensions, nothing. They kind of just pretended the whole situation never happened. Longhorn fans would question why no action was taken, as there was no chance that the school and staff were unaware that this was going on. People question why the situation wasn't handled more swiftly, why he wasn't cut from the team before things got messy. Of course, you had your usual crowd of absolute dorks who blamed the victim for trying to quote unquote ruin his career and yada 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 whatever. As some of you may or may not know, this was not the nail in the coffin for Terrio's career at all. Terrio was able to play a full season afterwards, putting a respectable 4.8 points, 1.4 rebounds, and 0.5 assists per game. He would enter the transfer portal at the end of the season, and well, you know, some other things would happen, but that's a story for another day. Yeah, today is in fact another day. Basically, the story that I wasn't prepared to share earlier was the fact that Terrio entered the transfer portal and ended up at the University of Kansas. But before the season even started, Terrio had an open case in the state of Kansas for an accusation of rape, and he was subsequently cut from the team. Obviously, it'd be a slippery ass slope for me to talk about it, given the fact that it wasn't like said and done or whatever, and all the facts hadn't yet come out. I think at that point, the only thing released was like an affidavit, and that's obviously not enough to convict a nigga of a crime. He hadn't even gone to trial yet. I would like to go in depth about the details of the accusations, but that doesn't really serve any purpose given the fact that nothing came out of them. But if you are curious, I guess you could just search it up on your own. Nigga, I ain't talking about that shit. But yeah, as of Tuesday, April 9th, the case is now closed. Terrio posted some paperwork on his Instagram basically saying that the case was closed due to a lack of evidence. So yeah, I hope that boy can stay out of trouble and get back on the court, you know what I'm saying? Do his thing. Yeah.
No comeback from that. Zach Brown. Tough name.
In the last entry, I talked a bit about how it's so fascinating to me to see how these graduating classes of hoopers pan out. Some live up to the expectations put upon them, putting up stats and maintaining their rankings all throughout high school and keeping their reputation all the way to the association. Names like Anthony Edwards and Zion Williamson come to mind. These players are exactly who we thought they were. On the flip side, however, it's very common for kids to be highly touted early on and then fizzle out later. For natural reasons though. Some kids peak way too early.
So that nigga peaked at 9 years old. Like, yo, imagine peaking at 9. Imagine peaking, yo, imagine peaking at 11, 12 years old, my nigga. Your tennis balls haven't dropped. Imagine peaking at 9, 11, 12 years old before you even hit puberty, bro. Before you become a teenager, you peaked at height, you peaked at ability of anything. Now all you need is your basketballs to drop and facial hair. But height-wise, you're cooked. Crazy.
Their peers catch up to them physically, and then they begin to look way less dominant as time passes on. Some players just don't work as hard as they should have, relying on their athleticism instead of developing and improving their skill sets. What isn't as common, however, is being the motherfucker in the class that gets forgotten because you're a crash out. And you transition from a man to a woman. Like Zach Brown. No, not that Zach Brown. This Zach Brown. There's a reason you have no...
Fuck. Wow. Okay.
No idea who this is. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Zach Brown was a 7'1" center in the 2017.
Okay, stop. Stop, bro. You're not transitioning at 7'1". You're a 7'1" center. You're transitioning. I'm done. I'm actually done. Like, actually done. You're not transitioning as a 7'1" center. I don't care.
Team class for Miami, Florida. Growing up, he was one of those kids that was always bigger than everybody around him. In fact, Zach was 6'2" by the age of 10. It was never gonna be.
What the fuck? How are you 6'2" at 10? How are you taller than me at 10?
Anything but basketball for young Zach. But the path to the conventional hoop dream was a little more hectic than most. Now, believe me when I say he comes from extremely humble beginnings. Zach was the youngest of 5 boys, all taken care of by a single mother in the tough neighborhood of Overtown, one of the worst areas in Miami. I don't have to go into much detail about what goes down in Overtown, but just know the violent crime rate is about 127% higher than the national average. Anyway, Zach and his family lived in poverty, like real deal poverty. It wasn't uncommon for Zach, who again was a big ass kid, to wear clothes that were several sizes too small. He and his brothers were no strangers to making ends meet, as they would commonly steal food and clothes when things got sparse. He'd recall a story of a time where his mom was hospitalized for an entire month because of a heart condition. Zach and his brothers would sleep at the hospital to stay close to their mother day in and day out until the day they were finally kicked out. Once they returned to their apartment, the lights were cut out. The bills weren't paid, but that was regular for him. At the age of 12, the state took custody of him and his brothers after his mother failed a drug test and was deemed unfit to be a parent. The judge over the case claimed their living situation was, quote, one of the worst he'd ever seen, with not much further details, so we can only imagine what exactly was going on in that home. After bouncing around from foster home to foster home over and over again, they'd be sent to live with their aunt, which would stand to become a blessing in disguise. By this point, Zach was 6'5" in the 7th grade, but had never played a game of organized basketball in his life, nor did he have any interest in doing so. It was only when his aunt's neighbors saw how physically imposing he was at such a young age, probably thinking to himself, why your big ass not playing basketball, and referred him to Michael Littman, the owner of a now defunct EYBL team called the South Beach All-Stars, that his life would change for good. Littman would convince Zach to play for his team, but there was much work to be done, as Zach was about as coordinated as a baby giraffe. But Zach showed work ethic and promise, and by the 8th grade, he'd already become one of the best prospects in the country. Life would change off the court too, as he would move in with Littman and become an adoptive member of the family. Although his new home, located in the tranquil upper-class neighborhood of Cocoa Beach, was only 10 minutes away from his old home in Overtown, to Zach, it might as well have been a completely different side of the planet. Fast forward a little later, and Zach is a 5-star recruit averaging 19 points, 17 rebounds, and 8 blocks per game.
Damn, nigga, wow. 19 points, 17 rebounds, 8 blocks, nigga? Okay. Big man. What? Bro, I don't even think Shaq averaged that. That's insane.
Offers from schools like Virginia, Miami, Kentucky, and UConn, the latter of which he would commit to later on. This is about as good as it would get for Zach, though, as the next year or so of his life would be the most tumultuous sequence of self-inflicted bullshit I've ever heard of in my life. The first domino fell in January 2016 when Zach transferred to Putnam Science Academy, a prep school about 20-ish minutes away from the UConn campus. On the surface, the transfer made a lot of sense. Zach had just committed to UConn. Why wouldn't he take the opportunity to play at one of the better prep schools in the country while getting himself acclimated to the environment he'd be living in preparation to go to the league? Well, the reason Zach left in the first place wasn't that cut and dry. Right before he moved, Zach had gotten into an on-court altercation during the game in late December. To keep it sweet, hands were thrown. Littman was quoted saying that Zach didn't start the fight, claiming he was provoked, but it didn't matter because Zach for damn sure finished it. The suspension was indefinite, right in the middle of what was essentially crunch time for most teams trying to make a playoff push, and Zach's 28 points, 15 rebounds, and 9 blocks per game would not be easy to replace. I'd like to make it clear that getting into one fight doesn't make you a crash dummy or a menace to society or anything like that, and it's not an indictment on one's character, especially if you were provoked like Zach's guardian claimed he was. However, it would happen again. Zach, after only being at PSA for a grand total of 2 weeks, would get into another on-court fight. This time around was a little more serious. Putnam had a strict no-fight policy which would effectively end his stint at the school for good. Damn. Zach would move back to Miami, which was seemingly becoming a more toxic environment for him between family problems and increasing concerns surrounding him maintaining his grades. To add insult upon injury, he would decommit from UConn, and you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes, on the 5th of May. Now this is where it gets crazy. 3 weeks later on Memorial Day, the news broke that Zach had been arrested facing charges of armed robbery, 5 counts of credit card fraud, and multiple counts of robbery by sudden snatching, according
I ain't gonna lie. You 7 foot tall.
to Metro-Dade police. Let me explain something to y'all. This nigga basically got hit with a RICO. This dude on multiple occasions was going into stores, taking merchandise, and using stolen credit cards. We have now officially entered Crashout territory. Zach will post a $25,000 bail and was out soon after. This resulted in Michael Littman, his one-time guardian, severing ties with him, and he would subsequently reunite with his mom and brother back in Overtown. Now, in most cases, this would essentially be career ending. Zach's baggage was becoming a little too much to bear, and between 2 on-court altercations and the armed robbery, it seemed like Zach's story was coming to an ugly-ass ending. However, he was thrown a lifeline. Zach's cases were dropped following a lack of evidence, and he was focused on getting back on the court and getting his life back on track as soon as possible. All the shenanigans caused him to slide in the rankings, so he dropped the star, but he was still a 4-star, ranked the number 9th center in the class of 2017, and he still had undeniable talent. And although UConn didn't see him as a part of their future, plenty of college coaches did. He would commit to St. John's University on July 21st, 2016. Things were looking up for young Zach. And then they weren't. Zach would enroll at Sarasota Prep for his senior season. For some reason, he didn't stick there either and would transfer to Calusa Prep in October, which would be his final high school. Now, if you're keeping track, that's 4 schools in less than a year. Never a good sign. But anyways, Zach would fly under the radar and sign his letter of intent with St. John's in November. He managed to stay out of the news until January when, you guessed it, he was arrested again for robbing a Walgreens. He was waiting in line and out the blue reached into the cash register, grabbed money, and dipped. And this time, his big stupid ass was caught on camera. Take a look.
Seven foot tall. You're 7 feet tall, baby Shaq, prospect of death, and you're gonna sit here and rob a Walgreens. Yo, word of my mother, you're gonna get caught for even spitting out a baby. You tall tree. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, no, seriously. You're 7'1", my brother. You were 5'1", or at least 6'1". Understandable, my brother. You're 7 buildings tall, 1 tree short. What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? She not gonna do nothing. Nigga's the great Khali. I ain't gonna, yo, bro, I'm gonna tell you something, nigga. If a 7'1" nigga try to rob me, nigga, take me home. Jesus, take me with you, cause I am not touching that. I'm not testing God. Bugging.
So obviously there's a strong lack of discretion with Buddy. You know when you have an intrusive thought that comes and goes and you think to yourself, damn, I'm tripping for thinking that. But that's all it is, an intrusive thought. Yeah, Zach's intrusive thoughts turn into action all the time. That little voice in your head that calms you down when you're about to make a decision that can create a bad consequence. I think Zach lacks it. Now I understand Zach had a very rough upbringing and a lack of decent parental figures. And I understand you're simply a product of your environment. But like, bruh, you 7 feet tall trying to rob a Walgreens. You thought you was gonna get away with that shit? And let's be real. A Walgreens of all places, not even a Walmart or a Target. Man, if that wasn't wacky enough, Zach tried to do the race after making off with his little change. He tried to outrun the police.
You try to outrun the police? That's 7'1". Yo, my brother, you're getting caught. You're getting caught. Unless you go to the ocean, nigga, and you stay underwater for 2 years. That's the only way, nigga. Only way, bro. They're gonna look. There's not a lot of 7'1" people. You're a 7'1" hoodlum. Oh, they're gonna know you. And you black, nigga. Say goodbye.
They would obviously catch up to him and arrest him. And in the process, police found out he was driving with a suspended license for unpaid parking tickets. At this point, the hoop dream was completely finished, as St. John's would release him from his NLI a little over a week later. Oh, you thought that was it? What DJ Khaled said.
Another one.
Zachariah Brown would be arrested one more time a month later. Why, you ask? Failure to show up to court. And no, you're not bugging. Zach has makeup on in this mugshot. There's also this video that went viral a couple years back that was confirmed to be him as well. Take a look.
You just saw a walk. Y'all just seen a walking tree. A walking tree attacking a human. Not only that, you saw a female. You saw a tree that transitioned into a female tree attacking another female. What?
I don't fucking know. Now, obviously, as of today,
Yo, big ass hopping on the bike. I ain't gonna lie, they took his jewels, chat. He went to jail, they took his jewels. Oh, they took a set. Yo, what they say in prison, it don't matter. The bigger you are, the harder you fall, nigga. Damn, they took his jewels, my boy. This nigga went from calling Zach to Zoe.
Story is about 7 years old. You may be wondering, whatever became of Zach? Maybe he got his life together, got back on the court, he's playing basketball in some capacity. Maybe somewhere in Puerto Rico or Uzbekistan or something. You'd be wrong. Zach Brown is now Jessica Turberry. We can only hope she's staying out of trouble.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
And living her best life.
Nigga, Sidney Gilstrap Portley. Nigga's name is Gilstrap. Nigga got strap in the middle of the name. This nigga's a hoodlum. First of all, your name is Sidney. I know you mad. Second of all, strap? Your dad a funny nigga. Third of all, Portly? Where you from? Utah? Like...
Okay, I feel like I gotta preface this next story by saying my tone is gonna be a little different. It might get a little silly. And that's because this nigga is just an idiot fucking degenerate. But I like to make it very clear, like, ain't shit about this next one funny at all. I mean, it might be a little funny.
Let's find out.
For those of you who are former athletes, whether you just grew up and graduated, or maybe you suffered an injury that cut your career short, or maybe you just fucking suck and you got cut from like JV or something. You all know deep down somewhere, you wish you could have done things just a little differently. I know at least once you wished you could go back in time and put just a little bit more work in, take shit more seriously, and maybe undo some costly mistakes. For a lot of athletes, it's hard to imagine themselves living a life outside of their sport. And that's completely normal. It be like that sometimes. You move on though. Life goes on. Unless you are Sidney Gilstrap Portley. In 2017, Sidney Gilstrap Portley was sitting on the porch of his East Dallas apartment, reflecting on the current state of his life. To keep it simple, Sidney was depressed. He would reminisce about how he came to be at the spot he was at. Sidney grew up with a typical hood baby origin story. He was an only child raised by a teenage single mother, not necessarily because his father didn't want anything to do with him, but because he was in and out of jail. Sidney's father, Sidney Sr., racked up a shit ton of different charges, including 16 felonies and misdemeanors ranging from aggravated assault to attempted burglary. Clearly, that boy was in love with jail. In any event, Sidney and his mother weren't used to stability, to say the least. They bounced around a lot from home to home, accepting shelter from any relative that offered. His escape from that came from basketball, of course. Naturally, it was his first love. Sidney was a big fan of LeBron James, so much so that he watched More Than a Game, the documentary about Bron and his high school teammates, every day after school. He saw himself in LeBron, a determined kid with an absent father who was able to rise above it. Now, Sidney wasn't blessed with a 6'8" frame and generational athleticism, but he was a special hooper in his own way. To be completely honest though, the little nigga just wasn't that good. Although talented, he didn't make varsity until his senior year of high school, and even then, he was never able to become a starter. Only really
Poof! Poof! Nigga, just put the fries in the bag. Put the fries in the bag, dog. Put the fries in. I ain't gonna lie. Put the fries in the bag. Put the fries in the fucking bag. What do you do, sir? Excuse me. Put the fries in the bag.
Ever playing scrub minutes or in blowouts. Sidney had a reputation as a ball hog, rarely passing to his teammates, and he'd fight his coaches as well. I'm sure some of y'all can relate. Sidney's dream of being like his idol was slowly slipping away from him, and it took a toll on his mental. He started drinking before games and picking fights with his teammates. Midway through the season, his coaches had enough and cut him loose. After graduation, Sidney would try out for several JUCO and D3 schools, but his reputation as a bad teammate kept coaches from taking any legit flyer on him.
That's because he sucked though. Let that nigga be that 7'1" demon, and they would try to still accept him. Feel me? But he just sucked.
Was able to play a little bit at Dallas Christian College, but didn't even finish a full season and couldn't stick anywhere else. So Sidney's basketball career was effectively over. Until it wasn't. 6 years later, in 2017, a devastating hurricane wreaks havoc on the southernmost region of Texas, with Houston taking the brunt of the damage. Hurricane Harvey caused catastrophic flooding, hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, and claimed 103 lives. It had everybody in the state of Texas's attention, including Sidney's. Still stuck in that same spot he was at 6 years earlier, 24-year-old Sidney desperately craved a change of pace. So he did what any other normal person in his position would do. Got a damn job? No. Hit the gym? Nope.
Sell drugs.
Went to church and prayed on it? The mosque? Hell nah. Sidney arrived at Skyline High School in Dallas, claiming he was a 17-year-old Hurricane Harvey refugee from Houston named Rashawn Richardson.
I ain't gonna lie to you, my nigga. That's the most devious shit I've ever heard in my life, bro. You're 24 years old acting like a 17-year-old? Oh, nah. Hell nah. Hell nah, bruh. Hell nah.
Oof. He would request to enroll at the school, fill out the paperwork, and it would work. Sidney would take advantage of the loose restrictions on transfers at the time, put in place to accommodate victims of the hurricane. The school district would take in anybody who claimed to be one, regardless of how much documentation they didn't have. All Sidney had to do was lie and say he lost everything in the flooding, which is exactly what he did. I'm gonna speed up the story now. Rashawn wouldn't stay at Skyline for long. He transferred to another school within the district, Hillcrest, which is where his legend would begin. It was at Hillcrest where Rashawn would quickly demonstrate just how much better he was at basketball than everybody else, which again, I'd like to emphasize was because he was 7 years older than everybody. But anyways, standing at 6'1", Rashawn quickly became the go-to guy on the team as his teammates would gravitate towards him while he racked up big performance after big performance. He'd go out of state and play the #1 team in the nation, scoring 40 points in 3 quarters, which added...
Nigga, you're 25 years yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. The only reason this isn't like a great thing is because the nigga is 7 years older than everybody in the league in high school, bro. You're 25, 24 years old, dropping 40. That's similar to JaVale McGee dropping 10 and 12, bro. That's the equivalent of JaVale McGee dropping 10 and 12 in the Warriors in 2018. That's the equivalent.
Added even more buzz to his name. 25-year-old Sidney was making quote-unquote friends off the court too. He was basically Hillcrest High School's main character. Did I mention the nigga was 25 years old? God.
Oh my. Yo, you was sleeping with lil niggas too. You P. Diddy ass nigga. Nigga was being, I mean, listen. I feel like it would have been cool if he made it to the league. If he would have made it to the league and then he played for 5 years, he made his bag, played for 5 years, got injured and left. And then before, like, I don't know, just later on admitted, yo, yeah, I was 24 years old, bro. Nigga, gotta take a risk. Understandable. Because he made it. But you didn't make it. And you were touching little kids, you creep.
Gossip started around the school though. Sidney didn't look super old for a 25-year-old, but he damn sure didn't look young. He had the letters S and G tatted on his calves, obviously standing for Sidney Gilstrap, but he would tell kids in the school it stood for shooting guard. No bullshit. He'd have his sister and nephew pull up to games and sit in the crowd, except they weren't his sister and nephew. They were his girlfriend and son. Surrounding spectators would
hell nah, bro.
question why the kid was calling Rashawn daddy. Nonetheless, Rashawn was able to infiltrate in peace for a whole 9 months undetected. He'd lead Hillcrest to a mediocre record of 11 and 10, losing in the first round of the playoffs.
So you wasn't even like Jesus Christ walking. You was just like, you were like Captain Dumbass, nigga. You ain't do shit. You 25 years old taking over the league and you ain't do nothing. 25 years old in high school, led a league, led the team in an 11 and 10 record. Captain, who the hell cares about this nigga?
He averaged over 20 points per game. His dominance earned him a District Offensive Player of the Year award at the end of the season as well. The facade would soon come to an end though. Sometime after March 2018, Rashawn or Sidney decided to suit up and play a couple games at a local AAU tournament. For what reason? I don't know. I mean, I'd assume you want to fly under the radar as much as possible.
Bro, and then I guarantee you some nigga who's like 39 recognize him as Sidney.
Anyway, he plays at this local tournament, and one of his old coaches who coached him 6 years earlier spots him. You could only imagine what the coach's immediate reaction was.
Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no 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 way, boy.
He was surprised to hear that the kid who never passed and tussled with his teammates had now been dominating the scene under a fake name. That would mark the end of the charade for Sidney, as he'd be arrested in early March on charges of tampering with government documents. Now, this is where the story stops being funny. In July, a girl would come forward claiming that her and Sidney had a romantic relationship while at the school.
What, like, a nigga could see that from Jesus Christ. A nigga could see that from the Eiffel Tower, bro. You 25 years old in the league and he had main character syndrome? Nigga was clapping them young cheeks. Oh, that's scary, bro. That is.
If that sentence wasn't bad enough in and of itself, just listen to this next part. The girl was a 14-year-old freshman.
can't. 14. Oh my God, not only are you a EDP, nigga, you're a loser. You're a 25-year-old man, went to the high school to get a second chance at living your childhood, and you didn't sleep with a senior who's turning 18. No, that is, ugh. You slept with a youngin' born 10 years after you, my nigga. Wow, this nigga thought he was him. Yeah, you're gross.
Yeah. Now, we all knew a couple freak-ass seniors or super seniors that dated freshmen. It was way too common. But this shit is way different. I don't even have to point out the obvious illegality. Sydney put the super in super senior. This fool was a super senior. In January of 2019, police arrested Sydney again. An affidavit released by Dallas PD told of the details. One day while the 14-year-old girl and the suspect were walking through the locker room, the suspect asked her to kiss him, and so she did. The girl's statement alleges that Sydney courted her over Snapchat and later drove her to a park, kissing her in the car, touching her breasts over her clothing, and asking her to have sex, which she says she declined. Sydney will bail out of jail again, facing 1 count of indecency with a child, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Of course, he vehemently denied these allegations. In an article published by Sports Illustrated in which they interviewed the victim's mother, she would state, "I called Coach Harris multiple times to find out who Rashawn is and what he was about," she says. "Coach said he wouldn't want his daughter to date him. He said he's not a bad kid, but he's had a lot of life. He's almost like an adult." Nigga, I wonder why. I would look at my daughter's phone log and she's up at 2 and 3 o'clock talking to him. She was so attached to this boy, she said. After the girl learned the truth that the boy she'd been smitten with was less boy than fully grown man, she was devastated. Her mother spoke about how she would cry hearing gossip about the situation around the school. Soon after, the girl transferred out of Hillcrest. Sydney will go on somewhat of a press tour, doing sit-down interviews and dropping a couple, and I can't make this up, mixtapes. Not hoop mixtapes. Actual mixtapes. And no, I'm not playing none of his songs. Y'all can go find that shit yourself. In one interview, he'd essentially brag about the whole situation. Take a look.
Hey, you was donkey of the day. For what reason?
Shit, 25 playing high school basketball.
Hey, nigga's a legend.
Killing them.
By the way, my community is promoting this. And then y'all wonder why, like, I can't stand. Every time I see a nigga across the street, I just gotta cross the other way because we promote stupid shit, bro. Let a white dude do that, bro. He's cooked, buddy old pal ain't getting nothing. But legend.
Killing them.
Lame man. Sydney's shitty attempt at a rap career couldn't stop legal processes though, as on July 23rd, 2019, he was sentenced to 6 years probation, yes, probation, for indecency with a child, and 5 years probation for tampering with government documents. Common ill from our justice system. Moral of the story, there is no rewind button in life. Also, just don't diddle 14-year-old kids.
Thank you.
Yo, thank you so much for watching this. If you made it to the end of this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It's a direct indicator that tells me that you enjoy the content and you like to see more. I have a part 2 planned, so I'm gonna try to get that out as soon as possible. But in the meantime, like I said, just like and subscribe, share, do anything, comment.
W video, bro. W video of death. W.